Thank you, Brett. Good morning. We'll call the meeting of the County Facilities Committee to order. Our first order of business is the approval of the minutes from the previous meeting of June 21st.
So moved.
Moved by Supervisor Thomas, second by Supervisor Beatty. Any discussion? Not, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We'll begin with the airport agenda. And Mr. Mapp, do you want to go through your action agenda, the new business items?
Sure. The first one is a request miscellaneous for a fly-in event. This fly-in event is being hosted by the Experimental Aircraft Association on October 1st and the rain day of October 2nd. One of the highlights of this event is that they're giving free plane rides for individuals or children between the ages of 8 and 17. So I think that's a big draw for the area. This event used to occur before COVID came around, and then it was stopped for a couple of years, and now they're picking back up. So I think it's a very good attraction for the community and the area and future potential aviation enthusiasts.
Yeah, very good. Young Eagles flying. That's October 1st and 2nd.
October 1st with a rain date of October 2nd.
Okay,
So if October 1st doesn't work out, then it'll be
great. Thank you. So the second, we have a request for transfer of funds. And this is for the removal of vegetation and trimming of trees in accordance with the FAA inspection. Oh, I'm sorry. I get carried away. I just want to move on. Sorry about that.
So we need to move that through as a resolution. So I'll make that motion.
Very good.
I'll second.
Seconded by Supervisor.
Discussion.
Sorry, everybody. This motion is for the fly-in event. So I have a
Discussion.
discussion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So how are you gonna advertise it? How are we gonna get that out there?
Right, so the EAA Association are doing it primarily through Facebook. I will liaise with Don as well to see if it's something that the county can do on our end, but they are taking the primary role on in terms of advertising.
So will the tourism department help you at all? Or?
They definitely could. I could reach out to them and assist, but
I was gonna say, Supervisor Beatty, we'll have Don put it out on every social media thing that he can. So we get it, because it is a great event, and it's an event we used to have here for years. I think since I started here, up until just before COVID, it happened every year. And with the shortage of pilots that are out there nowadays, this is a good thing to get kids interested in it, so.
Okay.
No, this is a national program.
Yes.
Yeah, it does national.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay. But
And I
we're
think-
gonna put it on our Facebook. Don's gonna put it out and obviously. Okay, all right, that's good.
Historically, I think it's been very well attended.
Yeah.
It's a good event. So we have the motion, discussion. Anyone else? If not, I'll call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right, now. Transfer of funds. Vegetation tree removal, inspection.
right. So as I mentioned from our previous inspection, there were two areas, vegetation along the fence line as well as tree trimming that the FAA required. The vegetation, we found a contractor to clear the area along the fence line. There are about 10 individuals that will come and bring their equipment, and then we'll be able to maintain it moving forward. For the tree trimming, I discussed this at length before. We reached out to the property owners, we got permissions, and then we identified those critical trees that we absolutely need to clear in terms of safety for runway 19 approach. And then we'll defer the other trees for next year. So we also put in our budget moving forward to go out there on an annual basis, examine the trees, and maintain the area as necessary.
Right, this is for both security and safety.
Primarily safety, because the trees obviously impact the approach for the runways and the departure as well.
Fence line for security, correct?
The fence line would be safety and security.
I'll make the motion.
Make a motion by Supervisor Beatty, second by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? Supervisor Beatty?
So going forward after this year, the budget this year that we do this
Or
or,
tree trimming, correct.
all right, so this year we're taking out a contingency or That's a finance committee to go to take a.
Superintendent Hadros.
Yeah, I just want to add, I mean, with the vegetation along the fence, there used to be a staff of 5 out the airport. Now that we only have 2, it's a lot of fence line for those guys to cover. And FAA saw that through the inspection, but hopefully with it cleared this at this point, we will be able to maintain that and then also budget for the trees every year to make sure that we keep them at the level we should.
Going forward.
Very good. Supervisor McGowan.
So basically what you're saying, it kind of got overgrown a little.
Sure.
But once it's cleared, what would be able to do like some form of safety roundup type thing? And spray that vegetation every year around the fence to keep it down, or
No,
are they gonna have to go out and pull weeds?
they're gonna have to go out and remove any of the brush that grows from there. And they'll be able to catch up, or if we stay up with it from here on out. And if not, we can have DPW guys come down there and help, and then it'll be billed back to the airport.
Why can't we maintain that? I see that like, especially on the Northway and that, you'll see the vegetation and all of a sudden they go and spray. Why can't we just spray
I'll
the?
let Robin answer that question.
So this is a later point on, but I will get to it now. We had the Army Corps of Engineers came out for the area for the solar farm project, and one of his recommendations is that we do not use herbicides or pesticides along that western perimeter at all.
All right, I can understand due to the water line and, okay, thank you. Just asking.
Anyone else? If not, I'll question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah, thank you. The next is the
New farm,
fund fuel facility upgrade.
right. So the fuel farm self-serve terminal, we currently have an M3000 issued by QT Pod. They no longer maintain or produce these, so there are no more replacement parts in production. So if any issues occur with our fuel farm, then we will not be able to acquire replacement and serve our community. I'm glad Dr. Schwenker is here representing pilots as well. So we are being proactive in our approach to get that replacement in. So we're upgrading to the QT Pod M4000. There is an installation fee. There is also a subscription fee, yearly fee that we also have to go through. But from our research, this is how most fuel farm facilities are going with that subscription fee. So we would
So
install
this
it
will
and
maintain some reliability and whatever.
yeah, and then they'll be able to maintain it as necessary.
I'll make a motion.
Moved by Supervisor Beatty, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? Supervisor Thomas? And then Supervisor McGowan.
It wasn't that long ago that we put this fuel farm in, was it? It's been a few years.
So let me clarify, because it's not the entire fuel farm, it's just a self-serve terminal. So if you go to a gas station, you know where the part you put in your credit card, that just that terminal.
Yeah.
Right, just that part, not the entire fuel farm facility, just
I
the
understand,
self-serve
but-
terminal.
Wasn't that part of the upgrade to the fuel farm?
Superintendent Hadro.
No.
No, it was not. No.
Good.
Memory though.
Supervisor McGowan, did you have a question?
Yes, this cellular kit. What's the cellular kit one?
Right, so what they're moving forward toward is a monthly, yearly subscription fee. So they're and their competitors, Fuel Masters, you're providing internet access to the facility now. So the cellular kit, yeah, I know. There's a subscription-based fee associated to managing your fuel farm. So you have online access to the fuel farm, managing the facility now. Instead of before where it was installed and we maintain it moving forward, there's now a subscription fee associated with these types of fuel farms.
Right, so they can monitor themselves, spy on us, or?
I would say that we can access it. I won't, accuse anyone or anything, but it's so that ourselves and the FBO can access the fuel farm remotely.
Now, why would we have to do it remotely?
That's the service is now being offered. Before they did not have that remote access to managing the fuel farm. You have to manually input the numbers, but now they're allowing you to actually monitor and maintain the levels, change prices, see how much fuel was offered during the day. So it's a lot more options being offered as a standard package now from both competitors, QT Pod as well as Fuel Masters. QT Pod just had the deal for us.
And I'm not busting your chops or anything, it's just a
It's a
question. How
valid
many
question.
gallons do we pump out of that fuel cell?
It ranges, honestly. I have to double check the FBO.
This is just for the jet fuel?
This is both jet fuel and, no, the fuel farm is just the low 100 low lead.
Right.
Right, that's for our vehicles and our equipment.
No, this is a Cessna's, a smaller aircrafts. Not the, so it's a fuel farm air.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I just, it's just a lot of questions, so.
Dr. Schwenker? Oh,
The current device that you use has a lot of limitations. What's there is actually a used one that replaced the other one where you couldn't read this screen anymore. This one came from Typewriter Road. So it is very outdated. You put in your credit card, it reads about a quarter of the time. You have to keep redoing it. You then have to wait about 2 minutes for it to cycle through whatever internet thing it does before it turns on. It's beyond its life.
Oh, that must be the dial-up service. we have on it. Oh, that's it. All right, thanks, Doc. Oh, okay, now I understand. Oh,
As you
dial-up
mentioned,
service.
The
Yeah,
end
all right.
result is no longer in production. So Dr. Schwenker is correct. It is beyond this life.
All right, now can we get a couple more cents for people that use their credit cards there? You know, can we have cash, you know, pay inside or outside? It's 5 cents more or something.
We can have that discussion offline. We know
Okay,
the
thank
good
you, my
part of this here.
friend.
Okay, I'm gonna move along with
So-
Supervisor
so-
Beatty.
So it's a one-time cost, 15,545, and then the yearly cost for the subscription or data plan. Is that correct?
You're missing one more cost. There's one cost acquired equipment, the installation cost, which is about 3,900, and then the yearly subscription.
So it's about 19,300 or 19,400 total. Is it- where do I see the
545, if I'm
total?
not mistaken.
You'll see it on the resolution.
Resolution.
I don't-
$19,455
Right.
budgeted. What was
Right.
budget was 15,000,
right.
correct?
Yes.
Superintendent Hagan.
So we knew this was coming this year, so we budgeted for this last year, and we budgeted 15,000. Costs have gone up on everything. So we're requesting the rest of the money out of the reserve, which this is one of the things that the reserve would be used for. So I believe it's $4,500 coming out of the reserve to cover the total cost. And then from here on out, the yearly subscription, we would budget every year.
I'm good.
Thank you. Any other questions? Not, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. Discussion items, taxiway markings and solar farm next sample date.
For the taxiway markings, we are updating our taxiway Bravo and Echo. If you guys remembered, we updated those areas last year, but unfortunately, due to the rushed nature of the project, we only applied the top layer instead of removing old coat. So once our inspector came out and she was able to see how little it lasted, how short it lasted, I was able to work out a more specialized approach. So instead of a lot of areas, just a few, 1 or 2 areas, particularly taxiway Bravo and Echo, we remove old markings and then repaint fresh markings, and that should last a lot longer moving forward.
Right.
Questions?
Any questions? Supervisor McGowan.
Thought we talked about this. Maybe you and I just had it, or I had it maybe in a dream, how we were gonna remove but we had this, so
Talked about
we didn't.
We talked about it offline, but last year we just refreshed the areas as opposed to removing markings, just because we have
Okay.
so many different areas to cover as a requirement as opposed to our leisure, basically, that we could budget for it.
And it's just because we can't get a paint application or whatever marking application to stick onto an old marking.
Yes, please. So generally, if you're painting over old paint, it doesn't last as long.
It's only as
No,
good as the
that's
base
interesting. Yeah.
underneath it. That's what that base is.
Pardon?
It's only as good as the base beneath it. So if you're painting on an old base and it's crappy, top coat's gonna go to,
Thank you.
okay, thank you. Any other questions on that? If not, we got the next amp update.
So
Superintendent Hadros.
I will take that one. So Next Amp is working through the process with the town of Queensbury. I believe they have everything in for their Planning and Zoning Committee as of probably the end of last week. I believe, as of what I saw from the town of Queensbury last week, that they're on the agenda for August to go through their seeker process and application with the town. So once that is complete, hopefully we have something, and Supervisor Shaw, you might be able to tell me, when is that meeting in August for planning and zoning? A date?
They, planning has theirs on the third and fourth Tuesdays, and CBA's has theirs on third and fourth Wednesdays, but
So we
I
might
haven't
not
seen
know before next,
agendas yet.
so we might not know before next committee meeting as to whether or not, you know, they've gotten all their approvals through the town.
But that's, that's kind of the last thing.
That's the last thing. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing a CVE now for seeker approval or lead agency on the Walmart. And when I'm amazed at how many, I remember when we were doing the next exam, they were only allowed so much of a block to put in. And now it seems like we have 3 others or 2 others around that area. So it's really amazing how this is working out. And the CVE panels tend to move. They move a little, which only gives them like 10%. It's really interesting stuff once you get into it. But,
Okay. Any other comments, input, questions?
Hey, Chairman, I have an airport question at the appropriate time.
Right now, Supervisor Bramer.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. I have not had a chance to reach out to Kevin yet or Robin, so I apologize for this. Hopefully it's a simple answer. There's a group of people who camp during the Balloon Fest on the southern end of runway 119, and they have contacted me asking about that, and they said they talked to Robin, but weren't sure what the final answer was. If you don't have an answer today, just if you could just let me know that you'll look into it, whether or not they can do that again with their RVs.
Superintendent Hajos.
Yeah, Supervisor Bramer, I don't have an answer for you yet. I will have one shortly. Rob and I are going to talk with Mark Donahue at the end of this week, and I know that doesn't have to do with the RVers, but until I finalize things with Mark Donahue, I'm not finalizing anything else yet.
Okay, if Robin could reach back out to that guy when he gets a chance.
Yes, please.
I
Have
would-
his contact information and we're in regular contact. So.
Thank you. No, he said you've been great. You just didn't have an answer yet. And I didn't have an answer either. So if you could just stay in touch with him, I would appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All set, Supervisor Bramer?
That's it on that one. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a question about the bikeway at the appropriate time.
Okay,
Other
Well-
committee.
we'll address that later. Let's see, so referrals, pending items. Chair Superintendent Hajos.
So we've been waiting on Army Corps to meet us out in the field to discuss Rich Air's T hangar and how close the hangar foundation would come to the riverine wetlands, which are federal wetlands. We met with the Corps last Thursday. They, with some updates that Tom Hutchins has to do with plans for Rich Air, they're going to issue a letter that no permit is needed, and then we can move forward with doing the public hearing for the lease of property for Rich Air to be able to build this T hangar. So I'm hoping that we have the letter by the Corps as before next month, and then we could bring that public hearing for that lease for next month.
They'll issue, ACOE will issue the letter saying no.
To Rich Air and their engineers for no permit needed.
Thank you. Very good. We have the privilege of the floor regarding the airport. Lehman, any comments?
Hi, Chairman Bruno. No, there's nothing on YouTube.
Thank you. If there are no further questions or comments regarding the airport, we'll move on to buildings and grounds. So under action agenda, new business items. We got a request notice of intent to fill position, Mr. Rogers.
Thank you, Chair. Notice of intent to fill the position for a cleaner number 6 due to a resignation. Took another position within the county.
Right, and the we have the job description and all the other pertinent information. We have a motion. Supervisor Beatty, second by Supervisor Stroud. Any discussion? Supervisor McGowan.
Oh, yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is that base salary position, is that adjusted to the up and coming
Raise.
raise?
No, it does not reflect the $5,720. That will take that position to $35,455 starting August 1st.
35,000.
35,455 plus that position also gets a 5% shift differential because it's second shift. Which
Well,
will take,
hopefully we can keep this cleaner now. That's.
well, I
a good
mean,
jump.
it'll take the nighttime position to over $37,000. So, and I actually have currently 3 vacancies, but I have 2 of them filled. One will be here starting next Monday and one of them starts August 1st. So, and then hopefully this will bring in more.
I hope this helps, so I don't have to keep seeing these every month.
Trust me, I don't like to bring them to you. It's the last
Well,
thing I
no,
like to
hey,
do.
it's just one of those things, but thank you.
Yep, no, thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion carried. Discussion items, work order request program, fleet car request program, and then we'll get to the countryside adults. So the
Okay, the work order program is currently at 2,270 work orders since its inception. Working rather smoothly right this moment. Usually about a 2 to 3 day turnaround on completing a work order as of right this moment. Fleet car request is at 690 requests for any sort of a fleet car that we have. We've actually added 3 cars from another division just to help us out a little bit because we are getting them filled regularly. Almost every day we have every one of them going out. So
very good.
And an update for Countryside Adult Home would
Yes.
be that, again, as I discussed last meeting, the first week of August, we will be out to bid for that project. And then I don't think we'll know by the next committee meeting what the numbers will come in at, but by September committee meeting, we will.
Thank you. Moving on, referral pending items. Design for updates to the front entrance municipal center building, revised plans incorporating changes we suggested and presented at last month's meeting.
Yeah, I don't have any updated plans for you right now. Because I discussed this with Supervisor Bruno this morning. I think there's a couple things on there between that, the jail facility and the referral from criminal justice for installing magnetometers in the building. While we are moving forward with doing an expression of interest in RFP with our consultants for the regional morgue, there's still other space to be used in the jail facility. I'm not sure that the regional morgue would use the entire facility, number one. Number two is the security here at the county center. I sent everybody the report from Needham's. As discussed in that report, there's a lot of information in there that should be done throughout the county. I would ask that most of you keep that report to some degree confidential for the fact that is because it discusses panic buttons, locations, and things like that, which we don't need to necessarily advertise. But with that being said, again, as we discussed last month, the front entrance area is being suggested for the new kind of magnetometer replacement and entrance to the county facility. As I suggested with Supervisor Bruno this morning, I don't want to it's gonna require a report with what Supervisor Conover asked last month with doing a connection between the new front parking lot and DMV. Are we doing the security out front? We're doing it over to DMV. There's a lot of things that are associated with this, including what the rest of the space for the jail would be used for. So with that being said, I didn't necessarily have anything prepared for this meeting, but what I'm proposing is that we have a consultant look at this in its entirety and not pieces, because if we do it in pieces, I think we're going to miss something. So with that being said, again, the consultants that we have on board are going to look at the regional morgue concept and kind of give us their feedback on that. But then the remainder, I would like a consultant to look at in its entirety and provide the county a report to say, this is kind of what should be done. We have a bunch of pieces here and there of Needham saying this, of us talking about the DMV entrance, about parking out front, about connecting parking lots. I think it should be done as one item and not all these little pieces. So that kind of covers, I guess I want to say the first two and number 4. And I'm sure there's questions or comments.
Supervisor McGowan.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, I've been working on, the jail. Previously, it's been quite a few years, and now still waiting for the finalization. And, we keep talking about plans and, and surveys and reports and stuff like that. And, it's been 4 years on that. That Needham report is something I think we have to move on. A magnetometer out front right now, at least to give what security we have an opportunity, a chance to move at a split second. You see a light, you get a buzzer or whatever, to wait on that. We could do an outdoor one, where you come up to the steps. The front entrance, we could go, really, if you want to think about it, the front entrance is not handicapped accessible. So we'd have to make that handy. Plus, it's a quarter-mile hike from any parking lot, unless you're going to bring the parking lot closer. So to me, to throw this into the barrel to get another opinion, I'm just trying to think logically out of the top of the head. Really, the main entrance to this building is the DMV. What are the 3 main spots over there that people go to? DMV, treasurer's, and clerk's office. So really concentrating on that particular area, which the majority of that parking lot is used for people coming in into there and across to the human services building. So, yesterday in the meeting, talking about we've got the officers, on a roll coming in, protecting the entrances, not protecting, but overseeing, but having the presence of security. I know last month I mentioned up, of a magnetometer, and it was going to be looked into. Do we have any information on this month? I mean, I like the idea of doing things, in a uniform manner, but sometimes it gets overly done because of all these reports and all these thoughts and everything else. And the input of other people. I don't know how many people use that, the front. I know Frank comes in the front, entrance, but, he's been doing that for years, but it's, maybe I should go there, get a little bit more walking in, but I like the back, but just something to think of is that, how long is this going to take, and how many more reports do we need? And to get a magnetometer that we can use anywhere. I mean, we started off with 2 officers. I brought up the suggestion that we have 3 areas of, entrance that should be protected. And it was easily said, you're right, we should have all 3, So just a question.
Okay, I'm gonna move along. Superintendent Hagels.
Just to talk about the jail, as I said last month, I'm not dropping the jail. The jail bid for demolition and abatement is still going out. And as I said last month, it's going out this month for bid. So by next month, I will have costs associated with what that'll be to demo and abate the jail. Then you have a wide open space. And the same token, I also said that we've had our 5 consultants have an expression for a letter of authorization or we provided them a scope of work for them to come back and give us a cost associated with,
Reutilizing space.
yeah, whether regional morgue is the best idea, whether that space can be used for something else. I mean, we're always lacking space within this county center. So I don't think that whole jail area will be used for a regional morgue. Not even close. But then what about the remainder of the space? Where do I put the regional morgue? Do I put it on, if it's a good fit, do I put it on this end? Do I put it on that end? Those are the things that I'm talking about looking at. If there's an entrance in the back by the buildings and ground shop. Is that the best location for them to bring bodies in? We don't want to bring in bodies in, you know, there's a, and I understand you don't like the necessarily reports, but that's, again, I don't want to piecemeal this and then come back afterwards and say, we didn't do this because we kind of rushed through it and did this. So,
Separate identity. That's a separate identity to the Needham report.
yeah.
Don't put the two together. That's what I'm asking.
Understand. but
4
then-
years. 4 years we've been working on that, and we're gonna need office space. We're gonna need, you know, rooms. So why would you put everything on the other end, you know? I mean, I've worked to the sense of talking to the college about maybe having forensic classes here. I mean, there's a lot, yeah, there's a lot we could go into that. But, you know, let's get it cleaned up and ready to go, and then we can see this. But, you know, we wait for these reports, and then we wait for, well, we're gonna get an estimate, and then we go to find out that the estimates that our group puts together, you know, costs come in much higher because now we've gotten the official estimate. And it's just very frustrating. It's just, you know, but we need to move. Something possibly could happen at one of our entrances. And to me, the regional morgue's not happening right now, but this is something that is changing in society all over. And, you know, it'd be tough if something happens and our insurance says, well, I'm sorry, insurance company comes back, says, oh shit, geez, you didn't move fast enough. So, you know, you're not covered. I don't know. But let's, you know, I just want to keep things moving. And nothing against you, Kevin. I know you're
All right.
you're doing your best. So.
Supervisor Beatty.
I'm a little confused on what you're actually asking, Brad. Are you saying you want, they're already separated? Jail, former jail,
We're on the Needham.
and the Needham report are separate items, separate issues. So I'm not sure what you're asking.
I believe Kevin just said that the report to look at both of them.
No, I don't think you said that.
Yeah, well, that's what I picked up is,
No,
Okay, let me just interject. Items in the Needham report, you can move on some of them, correct? Security.
thought,
The other is space planning, utilization. So that's a separate issue. And that, I would agree with the superintendent. We discussed this earlier. You need to look at that collectively all at once. Just for an economy of scale, if nothing else, and for continuity, streamlining, et cetera. So that's what we're talking about here, is to get some, jump in anytime.
the bottom line is when I say, and Supervisor McGowan, I understand you keep saying the DMV entrance, the DMV entrance. The Needham report does not say put a magnetometer at the DMV entrance. It doesn't. It says put a magnetometer at the front entrance. So that's why I'm saying if we, depending on which way we go, if we go to the DMV entrance, I'm okay with that. We go to the front entrance, then I have to redo how we propose the parking and such out front there. Because I would bring it closer, not in the sidewalk area, but I would move that parking that's over there down this, so it's this way, so we have more parking in front of the facility.
North.
So people have a shorter walk into the building if we use the front entrance with the magnetometer. Now, I was giving somebody an example this morning. You go to the Travelers Building down in Glens Falls. You walk in that facility and basically everything's closed off, but there's a security desk there. And that security desk typically will say, where are you heading? And they'll call ahead to any of those offices to say, are you expecting this? That's would be my thought, and based on what Needham was saying, would be out at the front entrance. We have the spot already where Maggie sits. And if you put the magnetometer out there, then they would come in through that. And that's what I believe, that I read through their report more than once, that's what they were talking about in that front entrance, where you'd have that greeting, send them in which direction they're supposed to go. You can call ahead from that point, and have the magnetometer right there. But if we want to go to the DMV entrance, then you're right, that won't be associated with everything else that we're going to do here at the county center. That's not a decision for me to make. It's a decision for this committee to make is, what would you like me to do? I'm more than willing to, Scott already has prices on magnetometers. Yeah, I asked him to pull them up for me and what we could do out there. We'd have to build, it's magnetometer is not the only cost. There's going to be other costs associated with building around that magnetometer out there, which you and I discussed as far as extending that overhang. Or do we say, or does the facilities committee say, you know what, maybe we should be using the front entrance and then putting the magnetometer out there, which would be a different cost associated. Magnetometer cost Scott has, if you'd like them right now, I can have him kind of go through what the magnetometer costs are.
I think maybe the possibility is leasing a magnetometer until we have everything put together. For one. Number two, how does the Needhams know what entrance is used the most in this building?
I would
I
have-
mean, you look at the front of the building as a front door and everybody's, excuse me, I'm not finished
Just a
yet.
minute. Okay? As far as what entrance we use, that's going to come before the full board. It's not going to be decided here. We can recommend, but that's going to come before the full board. And people will have an opportunity to voice their opinions. I agree with you. How does Needham know which one is?
That's all I wanted to say.
Yes.
And maybe there's a possibility of next committee meeting in August that we can have Needham come here and present. Not necessarily get into all the rest of the details of their report with bugs and cameras and so on and so forth, but maybe we can have Mike Needham come and discuss why he proposed the front end. And I'm not saying I agree with you. How do they know? But they're here quite a bit. I mean, they've reviewed our facilities more times than I could possibly imagine. But it might be an idea to have them come here and present why they think that that's the chosen location for people to come into the county center.
Good point.
Well, for security purposes, all right, use that front entrance. You got more people roaming the halls, going all the way down to that end. So and that would be something I'd bring up to the Needham's report.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rogers.
Thank you. Just add a quick comment in regards to the magnetometer that you want to put out there. I have done the research. I do have the prices as well as the various ones that you're looking at, from ones that go from so many points to ones that you actually don't have to use a scanner or empty your pockets in regards to that. But in regards to leasing one and getting one as quickly as possible, I've been working with the state section over here because I found out actually yesterday that they purchased 2 more. So I might have an opportunity to take the one that they're going to be getting rid of and put over here until we get everything finalized over here, if we have the space available and the people for it, just to give you that heads up. So Kevin asked me to do all these things. I've been doing them. So we just
Thank you.
need to finalize where we're going to do it.
Willing to do that today?
If they had them, it's not as quickly as.
No, finalize everything.
Oh, no, what I was gonna say in regards to purchasing them as anything you're gonna do with construction, it's 8, 10, 12 weeks, some are months, half a year out with getting them. So it's going to be, I'm trying to get as quickly as possible as we can, so.
Well, if we can push forward with the chairman's permission, if we push forward with the state upgrading theirs, if that's not gonna be, 4 or 5 years, maybe we can just move them over for a temporary thing until.
And that was the suggestion. Like I said, I found this out late yesterday that they were doing this. And so, I mean, it's an opportunity, not a fail safe, but.
So we can move ahead with that. That may expedite things.
And again, it's dependent on how quickly they get the 3 that they're getting.
Anything else on that? Supervisor Thomas.
I tend to agree with what Brad's saying, that that's the main entrance down there. I don't see why you want to drag all these people up here and then chip them out throughout the building. So if we have to make alterations down there, then that's what we got to do.
Right. And that's my point. This will come before the full board. Correct? For discussion, and I have a feeling that
Usually comes from committee and then brought up at the board. But
my point is, at some point, all supervisors will have an opportunity to voice their opinion and majority rule. Maybe it ends up out there, but
But I'm willing to listen to Needham and see what they're research.
sure,
Maybe there's something I'm not thinking of.
I think it's a good idea.
I was just gonna add, and there will be a cost associated with which we don't have budgeted for. So it will come before the board for approval, because there'll be a cost associated. We will have to take the money from somewhere to be able to do it.
Anyone else? The last thing, I think we covered 1, 2, and 4. The conversion of the former Warren County Detention Center to the Joseph Warren Center.
So I don't want to necessarily throw Supervisor Stroud under the bus. But we were waiting on Supervisor Stroud and the other John to provide us kind of their comments, markups, so that I could get them back to Labellas. I haven't myself seen anything yet, but I haven't necessarily pushed either. So,
Well, we did rearrange things. I think the site plan number 2, which was favored one, and just a little shifting. One of the questions that came up with, this was a conceptual. What would the actual parking needs or requirements be? Now, as a nonprofit and a museum, they're eligible to apply for an exemption to the zoning code. But still, it'd be nice to know that when you have events there, that you are going to have parking, and our parking requirements are based on experience. So I did talk to Craig Brown, and he did make some suggestions, and I did share those with Labella. So now we have to finish up with a discussion with the folks at Labella as to shifting the site number 2 site plan around a little bit and ascertaining if the parking is anywhere close to what would be required for some of the events that we expect. So, and one of the discussions was that we would expect events of potentially 100 attendees. More than that, great, that's a good problem. But that's where we left it off. So now we have to shift things a little bit and make sure the parking's close to what would be required, and then we can move forward.
so Supervisor Stroud, if you and John have that close, or you get it close, I can kind of work with Labella back and forth to make sure that we, because I think Thompson Browning will turn it around fairly quickly, so we can have another meeting and kind of say, okay, here was the shift and here's where we're at. So the sooner you guys can get that to me, then I can get it to him.
Okay. All right. We'll work on that.
Thank you. So just to close out, Mr. Rogers will pursue expediting, if possibly, magnetometer installation at the current DMV entrance, for lack of better. And at the next committee meeting, we will have a representative from Needham here to go through their recommendations. And that meeting will be chaired by none other than Supervisor McGowan.
Oh, wait, why don't we just get a written, maybe just a written? I'll take some medication to calm down.
I won't be here, but I want.
I'll be out of town for that.
We probably won't have a quorum now you mentioned that. Thank you, Chairman.
Nobody's a meeting that never ends.
But so that's where we're headed with those items, and simultaneously, we'll be looking at the old jail space planning. Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? If not,
Motion to adjourn.
seconded by Supervisor Stroll, in favor.
Amen. Yeah, we're not done. You did a big day, didn't you?